Hello everyone. In this video I've got an update to the shrimp ring for not only V11 but a new way of building it. So let's dive in. If you've seen the old video, you know it's kind of a complicated process. I've simplified it so much more using some newer tools and the power of deforms in V11 to make a much nicer shrimp ring. So let's jump into it. We're going to start in the jeweler's bench with a ring size build, just like most rings. And we're going to choose our size. I have a US size 7 here. That's fine. We don't need the top plane for this ring, so I'll turn that off. We just go ahead and validate that. Okay, now, if you want a simple scalloped ring that's a full ring, there is a ring from object, which I'll show you real quick. We can simply just take a sphere and draw that right in the middle of the screen in the OXY plane. Center that. I'll make it 2 millimeters. And validate that, and then we simply take a move rotate scale. I'm going to select that sphere, add a move rotate scale, and what I could do is squish it from the X side here and then rotate it a little bit along the Z and validate that. And we don't even need the ring size, actually. It's built into the tool, but we have our super action tool, ring from object, and immediately it's just going to create our scalloped ring by repeating that around the ring size that's built in, whatever size we want to choose, with reference space, choosing how much space we want in between them, and so on. But we want more of a classic shrimp ring that's just the scalloped top half. So let's do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this scalloped ring here and get rid of that sphere. And don't need to retrieve that. So let's do this a little differently. Actually, let me undo that, bring that sphere back. So we're going to use the same technique here with my little sphere that is squished and then turned a little bit in the Z. But I'm going to go back into that move rotate scale and actually move it up about halfway over the ring, or however much we want it to be sticking outside the top of the ring. Something like that. Okay. And then we're simply going to duplicate this in the duplicate section of the solid module with a circular duplication. Okay, I need to change the axis. I don't want to go on around the Z. I'm going to click the hand here and go over to the tree and choose the Y, which is the axis going through the finger. And we're going to change the starting and swept angle. So I wanted to start over here, which is -90. And then the opposite side for the green arrow, like so, is 180. All right, so halfway, or however angle you want it. I'm going to do halfway. And then we'll just change the number of copies, and that'll determine how much spacing is between. So how many pieces do we want? That's fine. And validate that. Okay, so now all we have to do is trim this to get rid of the excess inside the finger. First thing though, I need to boolean this into a single solid piece. So we're going to select that group of my little scallops and boolean add those together. And then we're simply going to select that boolean and go into the jeweler's bench and our trim to finger size tool. And we're just going to trim it to the ring size builder. It does auto detect that if you have one in the tree already. If you have more than one ring size builder, which normally you shouldn't, but if you do, make sure you choose the one you want to use. But otherwise, it'll find it, and we just trim that off. And there's our scalloped portion. Now we need to create the ring shank. So we're going to select the ring size builder, and I'm going to just jump over to the sweeping wizard. So this is great for single rail sweeps. And because I haven't drawn any sections, we're going to go to the section and add a generic section to the list. And then using the section choice here, we're going to use the library and come over to the shanks folder. And I want the half round number 2. This one here, it's a little more domed than just a half circle. And select that. And then I need to just make sure this fits inside the rest of the top half of the ring. So it'll be easier if I position that at the top instead of the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and move the position to 0.5. And then I can flip over to that. And then using the scale tool, turn off keep ratio, and I can scale this down inside the other portion of the ring. So it's kind of hidden in there. And validate that. Now, of course, you're going to see part of the ring through the scallops, which makes an interesting design of its own. But I don't want to see that part of the ring, so we're going to need to trim that off as well. So I'm going to select my ring size builder. And back in the solid module, we're going to use a circle sector. It's in the curve section, circle sector. Just going to create this little pie slice out of my ring size here. And I want to do diameter given by object so that this goes outside of my ring circle and outside of the object. So if you select that and select my little scallops up here, you can see that extends that out with a 10% increase. So as long as it's outside of there, that's going to cut plenty away that we need. And I'm just going to adjust the angle so that it's right about where the halfway mark is so that we don't see that cut. Needs to be just a little more. I don't want to see it on either side where that cut's happening. It's going to be inside that last scallop there. And that's pretty much it. We validate that. Select the ring and that shape we just created, that circle sector, and we're going to go over to crop and punch, which is in the special effects section, and we're cropping out what's inside that half circle there, so we just validate that. Okay, we can hide that now, and we can see there's our nice half a shank for the bottom and the scalloped half at the top. And we could go and boolean together if we like it like that, but I want to use the deform. We're going to taper. So deform, select the top half, deform, taper, the first one. And select the top first. And then using this scale, we can make our shrimp ring have a nice shape to it, like so. Okay, so earlier versions, you may not get a nice deform out of this. It might take a long time to calculate. It might cause some problems. But with the improvements in V11, we should be able to have a nice tapered scallop. It went really fast, so that's a good sign. Beautiful. One last step, we just boolean these two halves together. And we have our shrimp ring. Okay, as far as parametrics, if you change the ring size, don't forget you may need to move your move, rotate, scale of that half sphere that we modified up as well, or down, depending on how you change your ring size. But there you go. There is the new and improved shrimp ring for V11.